What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride Detroit YouTube channel. I'm Miko, joined by my guy Morgan here. And if you clicked on this video, you are in for a treat because I'm sure you saw the title, I'm sure you saw the thumbnail, and you're probably trying to understand how did these two guys find a way of combining anime with the Lions? And the natural truth of it is we were just bored one day and it kind of became like an actual conversation, and we were like, this should be a video. So here we are kind of doing this video. And Morgan, I'm excited because honestly, I don't care how many views this video gets. I just want to kind of have this fun conversation with you.
Exactly, man. This is one, they're all fun to make. Like, we try to keep that in perspective. Like, when we're doing these, like, we still have fun doing it, but this is a really cool one because, like, you get to tap into both. I'm a nerd about the Lions and I'm definitely a nerd about anime. So it's fun to combine
just
them.
kind of like, giving people an inside look at like us outside of outside of the Lions context, right? Like, I come on here most of the time, I have like some sort of anime shirt on. I know if you've ever seen Morgan on any of like the old POD live streams, like I'm sure him and Chris have had like an anime conversation or something of that nature. So this is just us being a little more authentic, but combining, like you just said, Morgan, two things that we're very passionate about and trying to make them overlap in ways that don't really make sense, but they make sense to us. And if you're a fan of anime, this will make a good amount of sense to you. And if you're not an anime person, hopefully this inspires you to go watch some because there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Absolutely. Like, it's so fun, guys. Like, for people that are like, I'm 33 and people are like, oh, you watch anime. And like, if you don't really know about it, like, people are like, oh, that's kind of old to watch anime. And you're just like, oh, you just don't know then. But yeah, you can look back here. There's some Demon Slayer, Naruto. That's Steve Irwin. Shout out, RIP to the legend.
Yeah.
But yeah, big anime fan, and this is going to be fun.
Yeah, 100%. So this video specifically, we're just going to focus on the offensive side of the football. If this video, this is the first time I've ever done this, Morgan, but if this video gets 5,000 views, right? So that means that you guys as the viewers are going to have to share this video, that you guys are going to have to help make sure that the view count on this video goes up. We will come back and we will do the defensive side of the Lions football team and find some comparisons there. And we will make sure not to double dip, right? So anybody that you guys hear us compare in this video, we will not use that same character on the defensive side. We will actually put in work to find some really unique comparisons. But it's up to you guys. If you guys enjoy this video, help us get up to 5,000 views. If we get up to 5,000 views, we'll come back and do like a part 2 to this with the defense.
Yep. It's going to be fun. Let's jump into it, man. My favorite one might be the first one, to be honest with you. But
I was going to say the first one was by far the easiest one, in my opinion, Morgan. And we're going to start with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown is by far one of the best wide receivers in the NFL at this point. He is someone that I think is still oftentimes overlooked in terms of just, where he was drafted. Maybe he doesn't have the quite, the size and all that makes him stand out to a lot of people. But once you see him on the football field, there is no doubt in your mind that he is one of the very, very best. And that's why for me, Morgan, he is a perfect comp to Toji Fushiguro out of Jujutsu Kaisen. Toji is, if you've watched Jujutsu Kaisen, Toji is by far one of the strongest characters in that universe. And he's very similar to Amon-Ra in that, again, they may not have all of the same physical capabilities or tools that others in their respective fields may have. But because of how they go about their job, they are by far one of the very best at what they do. And I think that very much fits when it comes to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, I love this comp. So in Jujutsu Kaisen's world, like, everything runs on cursed energy. That's how strong sorcerers are to, eliminate cursed spirits, to exercise cursed spirits, if you will. So Toji was born with no cursed energy, 0. And he's a part of this like legendary clan, the Zenin clan. But in exchange for that, he has a heavenly restriction that makes him like superhuman strong and fast, and he's kind of a sick man. Like, not in a bad way. We'll see. It's still going. I haven't read the manga, but he's a sorcerer killer, and that's what I think of for St. Brown. Just kind of this like almost sadistic, like, I'm gonna walk you down. And I'm going to smile when I do it. And he's so, so ripped up. Toji's jacked. Amon-Ra's obviously built like a Greek god. So I think this is a great comp.
And it is. And like, I love how you brought up like the heavenly restriction with Toji, because again, him not having cursed energy is very similar to like Amon-Ra maybe not having like the size that certain people think that a wide receiver has, or maybe he's not as fast as another wide receiver, but yet what he does have has been extremely heightened, and he uses what he has. He uses the tools at his disposal to be one of the best in the league. So I'm right there with you. This was one of my favorite comps, and it was probably by far the easiest one.
Agreed.
Let's move on to our next comp. And this one's fun, and I'm sure some people are gonna like it. Some people are probably not gonna like it. But let's move on to Jared Goff. And the comp that we were able to come up with Jared Goff is again a fan favorite if you're a Naruto fan, especially if you're an anime fan. But I'm gonna go with Rock Lee here. And Rock Lee is very similar to like kind of what we talked about with Toji, where like he doesn't have the one skill set that a lot of other characters in his universe thrive off of, which is with Rock Lee, he doesn't know how to use like ninjutsu or genjutsu, but he's phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal at taijutsu. That's how I view Jared Goff, where like Jared maybe not the best, and there are certain things within his toolkit that he doesn't have. But once again, the thing that he is very good at again, going into a game and just executing a game plan and being efficient and being accurate. He does that probably better than most other quarterbacks in the NFL.
I agreed. And Rock Lee's really tough too. I give him that. I thought that was a good, this goes into the comp well too, because Rock Lee's got some mean bangs. He's got a mean style. But yeah, he can, and he gets the drunken fist. Like if he can't have alcohol because he like turns into this like just honestly a G. Like he just starts like he can, that they need to give him alcohol more often. But yeah, I like this comp, man, because like you said, Goff can't do any. He doesn't have the genjutsu like an Itachi or like anything like that ninjutsu like Naruto. But he's got his thing and he's really good at it, and he can stay between the lines of a game plan and execute and read a defense. And that reminds me of Rock Lee, man. He can just get in there and get close to you and make it tight.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, again, can Rock Lee win a fight on his own? Absolutely. Can he hold his own in a fight? He did against Gaara, and he's done those types of things in the anime. But he's at his best when he's surrounded by a team, and then he has those that can make up for his deficiencies. That's one of the things that was really cool about the team that he was put on, where he was the taijutsu specialist and he was surrounded by others that again specialized in other areas. So I think that's once again a very similar comp to Jared Goff, where again maybe doesn't do all of the things that people quote unquote love to see a quarterback do. Maybe not the most athletic, maybe not the most creative with the football, but at the end of the day, if you send him out there to do a job, Jared Goff is going to get it done.
Yep. I think that's a perfect way to put it, man. Let's jump into the next comp. My favorite player on the Lions probably will be for the next 10, 15 years, probably. Penei Sewell, all pro, right tackle. And jump into it, because I know you're the One Piece guy. I still got to watch One Piece.
Yeah, so this is one where you and I kind of did have different comps on, and the comp that I came up with Penei is one of my favorite characters in anime, period, and that's Roronoa Zoro out of One Piece. Zoro is hands down, at least put it this way, he's on his way to becoming the strongest swordsman in this universe, and he clearly has all the makings to be that, but he also has these like other like qualities to his character that only certain people see, right? And it's something that his captain sees in him, which is why Zoro is technically the vice captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. But when Zoro, as the story arc has gone on, has fought against stronger and stronger opponents, they've all kind of made him aware that like, yo, like you follow this dude Luffy who wants to be king of the pirates, but you have all the capabilities, you have all the tools to be king of the pirates yourself. And that's kind of how I look at Penei. Penei has all of the tools, all of the skill set to be like the face, the leader of this Lions team. And in a lot of ways he is. But obviously, people look at quarterbacks, or they maybe look at receivers, they look at other skill positions as like the face. But you and I know from just even watching this team and following this team, Penei is kind of the heartbeat behind this entire team. He is the one that kind of sets the tone. And I feel like the same is very much for Zoro, where A lot of the Straw Hats can be a little goofy. Even Luffy is very silly and nonchalant. Zoro is business 24/7. Like, he's not here for the games. When it's time to square off, like, he's right there. And he's always there for his crewmates. And I feel like Panay is very much the same thing, where he's 100% bought into this team, and he does everything he does on the field, not just for himself, but for the other 10 guys that are on the football field with him.
Yeah, I love those points. And I'm picking up what you're putting down. Especially, you think about Panay, right? Like, the strongest, you said the strongest swordsman, and Panay is and could easily be, the out there. And he is the leader. Like, he breaks up, like, I sit in the one of the end zones at Ford Field, and before every game, he breaks them down, like, right there near us, like the entire team. So to your point, the team definitely looks to him as a leader. And yeah, you love that, because Sewell is one of those, like, quiet leaders. Like, he doesn't really do a lot outside of football. It seems like he has his wife, and now he has 2 children. He just had just had his second child. So I think he's happy in his spot. He knows he's that dude. And yeah, he's definitely going to be the first one too. You said he's the first one, like, ready to scrap, because if, like, say someone hits Jared Goff in a way that displeases Panay, or late, or however you want to phrase it, he's probably going to be the first offensive lineman talking to you. You think back to that day, he, as a 21-year-old rookie, or was he 20 at the time? No, he's 21.
He was 20 at the time when he was squaring off against Donald.
Yeah, he was a rookie. He was 20 as a rookie.
I believe so.
He was 20. He was 20 as a rookie. But yeah, like, when he grabbed Aaron Donald by the face, I'm like, oh, this man is different. Like, we kind of already knew then, but then that solidified it. I was like, he's him. I know. I hate saying that, because but he is. So I love this one, man. I think that correlation you made is awesome. This next one's cool too. I like, this is one of my favorites. Let's get into Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, and this is a good one.
Yeah, this is another one of my, like, favorite anime characters of all time. And I'm going to go with Teen Gohan, specifically Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan. I think him and Jahmyr have a lot of similarities. Jahmyr is obviously going into his sophomore season with the Lions this year, but has all of that potential to be one of the great running backs in the NFL. There's nothing that you look at Jahmyr and say, like, hey, he can't do that. Maybe he's not as powerful as certain guys, like a Derrick Henry or a Nick Chubb or something like that. But outside of that, there's really no limitations on how good Jahmyr Gibbs can be. And when I think about Gohan from Dragon Ball Z, that was a lot of the same things that those characters were basically saying about him, is that Gohan could be as strong as he could possibly want to be. He could be the strongest out of all of them, stronger than his father, Goku, if he basically just committed himself to training and wanting to be the strongest. And so when I look at Jahmyr Gibbs, it's like, yo, Ja can be as good as he wants to be if he basically just sets his mind to it. There's nothing that I think this organization is going to do to limit him. It's literally up to him to basically take the ball and basically run with it.
Yep, I agree. Like, Jahmyr is already, there's only a handful, like, less than a handful that I would take before Jahmyr Gibbs at this point. So to put it, I love, Gohan is completely, like, it's just the potential is there. Like, he's already really, really, really elite, if you will, but he could be pretty special when it's all said and done. And especially the way he contributes. Like, I think he's going to be more of a pass catcher this year. I think they didn't want to, like, overload him. That's how they do rookies. They're like, okay, we're going to let you get your feet wet, and you're definitely going to make plays, but we're not going to put too much on your plate to where you're only okay at everything instead of being really good at a couple things or one thing, right? So, if that makes sense. So I do like that comparison a lot. I was going to say,
that's probably one of the differences between him and Gohan, because Gohan got thrown to the wolves like day one. Right. Piccolo's throwing him in the wilderness and just being like, I figured it out. But the Lions definitely took more of a steady approach with Ja. But I think, he has that same type of ceiling. And again, if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, you remember, when Gohan hit Super Saiyan 2 and how big of a leap that was for him, and how it kind of really showed, like, oh yeah, he really has, like, all that hype that has been kind of built up since he was a kid was really starting to kind of come to fruition. So, Morgan, let's move to our next comp with another, young ascending player that has a lot of potential, but maybe hasn't quite tapped into it all just yet in Jamison Williams.
I love this one because my first thought was, if y'all are familiar with Naruto, Shisui, the teleportation ninja, because
Mm-hmm.
JMO is just so fast. We see it time and time again. Like he's running away from people, like while he's stumbling, and still running away from like, NFL caliber athletes. It just doesn't really make sense. So, but I love this one that you did. Hawks, My Hero Academia. I love that one.
Yeah, Hawks is, again, if you're a My Hero Academia fan, Hawks is one of the top pro heroes in that universe, and he's primarily known for his speed. Right, he's by far the fastest hero there. He has these ridiculous wings that are very, very versatile. But one of the things that made me, outside of the speed element, that made me kind of relate him back to JMO, is that Hawks is somebody that I think people typically look at him as just that, right? Like, oh, he's just this speed hero. He doesn't take a lot of things serious. There's a lot of assumptions made about Hawks that aren't quite true. And I think the same thing is true with JMO, where I think, coming in his rookie year, there were a lot of people that are like, oh, he's just going to be this speedster. He's just going to be this guy that you're going to basically going to try to hit on, a couple big plays a game. And Morgan, we saw this past season that JMO has way more in his bag than just being, a deep threat. He can still take those short to intermediate routes. He can still break off routes pretty, short, and then again make guys miss. And that's a lot of the same thing that Hawks was able to do, is that, again, he has these ridiculous wings, but those wings are very versatile. He's able to turn them into swords. He's able to, again, has this persona that people don't quite understand, but then you find him in certain situations and realize, like, no, he takes his job very, very serious. And I think the same thing can be said about JMO.
Yeah, I love that comp too, because I do think JMO's game is much more multifaceted than people give him credit for. And like we saw glimpses of it. And I really do, like, I believe in JMO taking another step this year. And it only might be like, and I say only, it might be like 6-7 touchdowns and like, 900 to like 1,000 yards, 800 to 1,000 yards. But that's a significant step in an offense that features Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery. It's a lot of mouths to feed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Goff over, Rock Lee is good at, spreading it around, but yeah, I love this comp because I do think JMO has a lot more to prove, and people kind of like typecast, oh yeah, he's the fast guy, he's a burner, he's Ted Ginn. Like, nah, man, like we saw little glimpses of it last year, and I really do. I hope we get to see a bunch of it this year, because the offense is just going to level up a couple spots, and it's already crazy. It's elite. So how are you going to stop them?
Yeah. 100%.
Next one I like too, man. This is a good one. Sam Laporta, and I want you to take this one. King, 7 Deadly Sins.
So I'm not gonna lie to you, Sam was the hardest to come up with a comp for, because
agreed.
I don't think anybody saw, like, there were whispers that Sam Laporta could be really good, right, in his rookie year, but I don't think anyone saw Sam being quite as good as he was this past season. And so when trying to kind of think of an anime comp that has that same type of repertoire, like, the thing about anime, Morgan, I'm pretty sure you'll agree with, is that the characters that are really strong, usually, like, pretty early on. They are usually hinted at, or there's just like they demonstrate it fairly early on. Sam was somebody that, again, you look at him, he was considered undersized for a tight end. There were elements of his game where you're like, okay, this is good, but how is it going to translate? And I think that fits very much with King from 7 Deadly Sins. King is a fairy who is actually the king of the fairies, but he has a lot of qualities to him that kind of have him overlooked, or have him, not regarded in the same way as prior fairy kings. He doesn't quite have the biggest wings. He doesn't quite, use his power to the fullest. But as that story kind of went on, you start to find out, like, no, King is actually like one of the strongest fairy kings to ever live. And it kind of catches a lot of people off guard, because for so long he just didn't look like he was going to have that type of power to him. And that's kind of like the closest thing I could get with Sam Laporta, where you look at him coming into the league and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, they could use another starting tight end. And then he turns into this ridiculous, top 3 tight end in the NFL. And you're just like, yo, like, when did this metamorphosis happen? And it's kind of the same thing that's pretty synonymous with King and 7 Deadly Sins.
I love how you put that too, because Yeah, like we knew Laporta was probably going to be a pretty good player. It might have taken a little bit because there's that notorious, learning curve for tight ends coming from the college to the pro game where it's steep. It's not typically a position that where guys come in and dominate. But Sam had a record-setting season, and they ask him to do a lot. Like, obviously he runs a full route tree. He works the middle of the field. He lines up out wide. He has his hand in the dirt. But they ask him to, block across the formation, kick out ends. He's in pass pro here and there. It's not often because you typically want him running a route, but he's got it all. And there's a case to be made that he's the best tight end in football next year, depending on how things shake out. Like Kittle's still there, obviously still, when he's healthy, he's playing at a incredible rate. You have other guys like Mark Andrews. There's players around there, but Sam's so young, and another player on this list that's just pointing up, right? Like it's just there's so much untapped potential there, and he could take it to another level or two next season. Scarily enough.
Yeah, and I think again, like those are all qualities that again, if you've seen Seven Deadly Sins, that are very synonymous with King, both as a character in anime and just again how he utilizes his skill set. Morgan, let's get ready to wrap this list up with our last player on the list. I would be remiss if we talked about the Lions offense and didn't talk about Frank Ragnow. One of the things that you and I were talking about when like kind of formulating this list is like one of the hardest things to do is not give Lions players like the strongest or best characters in any anime verse. That's really tough to do because oftentimes like your favorite anime character is one of the strongest anime characters. But this is another one that I feel really good about the comp with. Frank Ragnow being comp to Izuku Midoriya, otherwise known as Deku in My Hero Academia. There's a lot of similarities between these two characters. Unfortunately, the first comp that came to mind was just the injuries. Obviously, Frank has had a rough couple, years, the last couple years in the NFL, battling through some really tough injuries. But despite those injuries, despite those setbacks, Frank has still found a way to ascend himself to one of the best and one of the top centers in the NFL. And that is very synonymous with Izuku Midoriya, where he is given this power that basically doesn't quite resonate with his body early on. And every time he uses it, basically causes harm to himself. But he never stops that. He never allows that to kind of stop him from becoming what he wants to be, which is the greatest hero, to follow after his idol. And I feel like if Frank Ragnow is Izuku Midoriya, then Jason Kelce would have to be like All Might in that regard because he was so good for so long. And now Frank Ragnow kind of has the opportunity to follow in those footsteps.
Yeah, I like this because I love the Kelce point, and it'd be crazy if Frank played as long as Jason Kelce did, but I don't. Frank's got the toe that is basically, the doctors have told him it is what it is at this point. I think he's had 2 surgeries, if I'm not mistaken, at least 2. But yeah, to your point,
to that point, because before I I lose this train of thought. Midoriya has the same thing in his anime where I think it's his left hand. He's injured it so many times fighting that it'll never be fixed. Like it just is what it is at this point.
Yeah. Just, you've done it. Like it's turf toe and it's obviously manifested into something else, but you get that a lot playing in the trenches, unfortunately. But yeah, I love the comp because Frank doesn't let anything slow him down, man. He played that game. Everyone knows with the fractured throat, just a warrior. And like he was mad that people were talking about him retiring. He was like, what? I just said I needed some time to heal my body. Like, and I did. And I was like, yeah, that was probably on us. Although I didn't write anything crazy. I was just like, he probably needs a little bit, but we talked about Frank possibly retiring. So I guess we contributed to it a bit, but it's good to see he's ready to go, man. And you can tell he's one of those guys that loves being out there with his team. Like it happens a lot with offensive linemen because you do play as a unit so much. Like there's that camaraderie. There's camaraderie all over an NFL team. Don't get me wrong, or a football team anywhere, but the trenches, it really, that bond is thick.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why, like, again, Frank and Midoriya have a lot of other similarities. Like Midoriya is very like in tune with his friends and like he wants to do everything to protect everybody.
Frank.
That's Frank Ragnow in a nutshell, right? Like he does everything for that offensive line, does everything for his quarterback, whether it's Jared Goff or Matthew Stafford. Like he doesn't have a bone in his body where he can say anything negative about anyone. Midoriya is kind of the same way. So this was another one of my favorite comps because it was such an easy jump. It started with the injuries, but then like as you start to just look at skill set and mannerisms, it's like, yo, this is who he is as an anime character. So I don't know, man. Like this was fun for me. I could literally, if we had the time, I could go through the entire roster with you probably and find an anime comp for everyone because that's how diverse anime is, but it's also just how talented this Lions roster is.
Yeah, and I had fun doing this too, and it's fun because you're just having a conversation. That's how we had this idea, like Miko said to begin with. Like we were just talking, we're like, man, this would be funny. Like if we, and then we were just talking back and forth, and who could, what would fit. So if you guys like it, let us know. If you have different ones, definitely let us know in the comments because that's fun to like, oh shoot, I didn't think about that one. So let us know in the comments because that's fun. And I definitely want to do this again. This is cool.
Yeah, like I said, like Morgan said, this is purely fun. So nobody should get upset in the comments about, maybe your favorite anime character got left off the list or be upset that we're doing a video about anime characters because guess what? It's the off season and there's nothing else all that serious to talk about at this point. So we're going to, kind of enjoy ourselves and have these fun conversations as well. But yeah, like Morgan said, let us know in the comment section below. Is there another anime character that you would have compared one of the players that we mentioned? Or there's a lot of offensive players that we didn't get to talk about. We didn't get to talk about David Montgomery or Taylor Decker or Graham Glasgow. There's a lot of other players that we forgot to mention. But also, like I said at the beginning of this video, if you want us to also talk about the defensive side of the football, you know what you guys got to do. Get us up to 5,000 views, and we'll happily do that video as well. But with all that said, I'm Miko. He's Morgan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and we'll be sure to catch you guys in the next one.